Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we are looking at Action Comics 993. This is part 1 of Booster Shot. Story and pencil art by Dan Jurgens. Joe Prado and Cam Smith did the finished inked art. Hi-Fi was colors. Rob Lay on letters. Dan Jurgen, Trevor Scott, and Hi-Fi did the covers. I really liked the cover. I thought it was really dynamic. Really made me want to read the issue. Now we start out with Booster Gold giving kind of an overview. He's trying to figure out where Superman went on the cosmic treadmill. Flash shows up and just assumes that Booster's up to no good messing with the treadmill. Unfortunately, Booster has to kind of knock him down by having Skeets tap into the Watchtower defense system and knocking Flash out. And then he has to steal the cosmic treadmill so he can track Superman. Well, now why is he doing this? Well, Superman went back in time to witness the destruction of Krypton, and Booster can't let that happen. He knows what happens when you meddle with time. So he goes back in time to track Superman. Now, unfortunately, at the same time, Lois learns that her dad was on a secret mission and he was disavowed by the government because it was a black op and he got busted, and it was in that same made-up country that was in the last storyline, Longumba or whatever, fictional country number 8 million in the DCU. He was trying to smuggle arms or something and got caught, and he's due to be executed, and Lois can't allow that to happen, so she's gonna go do what she can do because she can't find Superman. Well, it turns out Superman is on Krypton, but something's not right. Now there's a spaceport. Whatever happened fractured time, and it created this alternate timeline. Before he can get too involved, Booster shows up, tries to tell him, hey, we need to get out of here before we get seen. But it's too late. They've already been spotted. Superman takes a little blast to the shoulder, and it actually hurt him. So the effects of the yellow sun have already worn off, and I have to say, this was a lot of fun. This was a great issue. You could definitely see the Dan Jurgens pencil work in here. I think the entire art looked amazing, and this was a big step up from that last mess of a storyline, the Oz Effect. This was definitely leaps and bounds above that, so I'm really excited to see where this goes. But I really like this issue, and we're closing in on issue 1000. We'll get caught up real soon here, but I highly recommend this one. This storyline looks much better so far. I would recommend it at cover price. I thought it was worth it. But with that recommendation aside, that'll do it for this one. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you liked the video, hit thumbs up and consider subscribing, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one. Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we are looking at Action Comics 994. This is part 2 of the Booster Shot story with Booster Gold teaming up with Superman. Dan Jurgens did the story and pencil art. Art Thurbert, Trevor Scott, and Johnny Desjardins. And Joe Prada did the finished ink art. Hi-Fi did color, Rob Lay did letters, and Dan Jurgens, Trevor Scott, and Hi-Fi did the cover. The cover's, it's okay. I'm okay with it. The art is a little distracting at times, but overall solid. You could definitely see Dan Jurgens' influence in it, and you could tell where a lot of different people had their hand in it because of different shading and stuff like that. Normally when there's this many cooks in the kitchen, things get a little wonky, but it's actually not too bad in this one. Well, they're still trapped in time on Krypton, a Krypton that shouldn't be the way it is. Obviously, Jor-El and Zod are working together. They have a spaceport and a space fleet. A whole bunch of Eradicators show up to attack them, and they have to try and escape back to the time ship and get out of there before they make it a permanent timeline. Unfortunately, Superman gets a glimpse of a future that could have been where the Kryptonians survive, and he is not on Earth, but he lives a very prosperous, happy life with his natural parents aging around him, and it's a much different scenario that he has to watch die out. Now, in other bad news, Superman's not answering Jimmy Olsen's watch, and Lois has to kind of make a plan of her own to rescue her father without Superman's help. And of course, that's going to get her in some trouble. Superman and Booster Gold pop out of the time stream and crash land on a planet, but they were followed by one of the Eradicator robots, and it turns out they are on Earth in Gotham City, and that's not gonna end well. So we're left with a cliffhanger ending. Overall, another great issue. This is more classic Dan Jurgens. It's not heavy on the political crap and moralizing and nonsense. It's just good action adventure. I was real happy with it, and this is a much better storyline than the Oz Effect, which I would just skip if I was you. Jump in on this storyline; it's way better. But it does tie in because Superman is trying to verify that Oz's origin was in fact the real one, and unfortunately, it is. And Superman has some tough realizations to come to. Next issue, we're gonna see some more Booster Gold and Superman action. This is proving to be a very fun storyline, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. But I would definitely recommend this issue if you get a chance to pick it up. It kind of gives you enough to work with if you miss the first part, so I won't feel too bad about jumping in mid-story. It's a good issue either way. So that being said, that's gonna do it for this one. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. Be sure to hit like if you enjoyed the video, and consider subscribing so you never miss a review, and we hope to see you on the next one. Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we are looking at Action Comics number 995. This is part 3 of the Booster Shot storyline, where Booster Gold and Superman are hopping through time having wacky adventures. And this is written by Dan Jurgens with pencils by Brett Booth, inks by Norm Repmundo. I'm sure I butchered that. Andrew Dahlhaus did colors, Rob Lay on letters, Dan Jurgens, Trevor Scott, and Hi-Fi did the cover. Editor was Paul Kaminsky. I love the cover. I think that's very dynamic, really gives it kind of a sense of drama. Now we start off with Superman and Booster having to defeat the Eradicator robot that followed them through time. It's a pretty big knockdown drag out, but Superman has his powers back, and since they are in Gotham, he's able to recover really quickly and put an end to it. But it turns out it's not the Gotham they left. They actually are in Booster's home time. They overshot a little bit because of the damage to the ship, and they are in the future where Booster Gold is actually a wanted criminal for stealing the time ship and several other things. So Superman has to move the time ship and the Eradicator robot under Skeet's guidance, and Booster gets captured. Meanwhile, Lois Lane is jumping on a supply ship so she can go rescue her father. They get a little stowaway on the plane too. Meanwhile, Booster's locked in jail with his own father, who's a complete scumbag, and Superman has been judging Booster pretty harshly overall, but he starts to kind of see things through Booster's eyes thanks to Skeet's giving him a little bit of a rundown on how crappy Booster's youth was. And Superman kind of relents and realizes that, maybe he shouldn't be so harsh because you're kind of dealt the hand you have, and some people are in different places than others. It is a little moralizing, but it's actually not bad. It might have been a little more simplistic than reality would dictate, but if you're a younger reader, you might actually get something out of this about seeing through other people's perspectives, and that Booster is trying to be a hero, but he didn't exactly have a lot to work with as a kid, so it's a journey for him. He doesn't have it as easy as others did. But Superman has to go bust him out of the joint, which he does. Just as Booster's dad is trying to sneak out of there by knocking out a guard and stealing the guard's gun. So Superman busts him out of jail, and Booster's allowed to visit his mother real quick and kind of give her a synopsis, and Superman plays up Booster's part a little bit just for good measure and really does him a solid on that one. So they jump back in the time ship, and they're able to get it going again thanks to some spare parts that they liberated for the stolen time ship. And then they end up on another planet, and this time there is a large statue to Zod, which is very, very bad, obviously. So we got another cliffhanger ending. At the back there's a preview for the Terrifics. I've already reviewed several issues of the Terrifics, and it's a fantastic series, so you should go buy that. But if you're at the store and you see this in the back issue bin, definitely pick it up. It was a good issue. I really like this storyline so far, and it was a lot of fun. The art is not my favorite, but it is pretty well done. This is definitely a style that I would probably grow to like. It's a little exaggerated, but the muscle tone looks pretty good, and you get a lot of different perspective shots. It's not just flat angles. There's a lot of different positioning that would be kind of difficult to draw. So you got a unique flair. I don't think I'm familiar with this artist either, so I'm not sure who Brett Booth is, but he does a good job. There's a couple times in the first opening page where Booster's neck looks a little weird, but other than that, pretty decent. I would pay full price for this issue and not feel ripped off. But that being said, that'll do it for this one. As always, thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next one. Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we are looking at Action Comics 996. This is part 4 of the Booster Shot storyline, written by Dan Jurgens with art by Will Conrad, Ivan Nunez on colors, Rob Lay letters, Dan Jurgens, Trevor Scott, and Hi-Fi did the cover, edited by Paul Kaminsky. I like the cover, it's very dynamic, gives you something to wonder about. Things are progressing pretty quickly here, lots going on. Superman and Booster Gold are on the planet Jekyll, something like that. Jekuul. I don't know how to pronounce that. It's made up. Anyway, that is the planet that Zod and his family went to after they escaped the Phantom Zone during the Revenge storyline. We've got that going on. The two guys are like, all right, we probably should get out of here, right? Nope. An Eradicator robot comes at them, and Superman has to take it down. Unfortunately, the time ship is still damaged, so they have to get some replacement parts, but thanks to the technology of the Eradicator robot, they know that the parts they need to get are in the area. Meanwhile, Lois Lane is infiltrating this horribly besieged country and trying to find her father. Now, Skeets has taken control of an Eradicator robot and is escorting Booster and Superman through town, but the Eradicator shows up and quickly figures out what's going on, and they end up in a nasty fight until somebody really nasty comes along and takes down Superman, and that is Lor Zod, son of Zod. And they are a few years in the future, I think, because this kid is a lot older than the last time we saw him. Probably in his 20s here. But we're left with that cliffhanger ending. Confrontation yet to happen. So the cover's a little deceptive because we only kind of see the son of Zod at the end, but a fantastic issue. It was a lot of fun. Trying to leave as much out as possible because I think you should probably pick this up. The art's pretty solid. It's very digital art style, but it's kind of mixes like digital art with what looks like hand-drawn. So I was definitely happy about that. The buildings don't look like they're too much like they're Google images with some tracing over them. So I would definitely check this out. This storyline is really fun. I'm glad to see Booster Gold and Superman teaming up, but all in all, a good issue. I would pay the $3 cover price for it and not feel bad about it. But that's just me, and that's just my opinion. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. Be sure and hit like and consider subscribing so you never will miss a review, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one. Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we are looking at Action Comics 997. This is part 5 of Booster Shot, written by Dan Jurgens, pencils by Brett Booth, inks by Norm Ramundo? Sorry, Norm. Andrew Dahlhaus did colors, Rob Lay on letters, Booth, Ramundo, and Dahlhaus did the cover. Editor was Paul Kaminsky. We pick up where we left off with Zod's kid trying to beat up Superman, but Superman has more experience and patience, and this kid is a hothead who's never really been in a real fight with an equal of his caliber. So Superman takes him down, but is quickly knocked down by Zod and Eradicator, and they're taken hostage. Meanwhile, Lois gets into her own trouble, and she is saved by John, she is not happy is there, but he did just save her life, so can't get too mad at him. Meanwhile, Booster and Superman are tied up, and Superman is held down by some kryptonite. Skeets appears to be destroyed by Zod, which is not good news for the duo, and Superman is attacked by Eradicator, Ursa, Lor Zod, and Zod, but thankfully Booster Gold has a force field, but it is not going to hold up against all that heat vision at one time. In the meantime, John gets to meet his grandfather, and they have to hit the ground running, as it were, and he's a little confused as to why there's a little kid out there with him, but, you know, sometimes you can't find a babysitter, I guess. And that's when they are unfortunately ambushed, and really bad things happen that do not bode well for the Lane family. So unfortunately it's left with a really dire cliffhanger, but you know what, this was a fantastic issue, a good addition to the story. I thought it was a lot of fun, and it definitely shows what a jerk Zod is. The art's a little less than I would expect in a few cases. Man, people do not know how to draw faces anymore, but overall the art wasn't bad. I'm a little frustrated with how badly people draw faces anymore. Like, take some anatomy classes. Did like the arts. Everybody looked physically good except for a handful of times that the faces looked very bizarre, especially after the staple. Man, it got looking a little rushed there, but that's okay. It was worth the $3 in my opinion, so I would gladly repurchase this issue. I thought it was fun. It's a good addition to the storyline. It's a long story, but it's been really fun so far. And Superman is learning the consequences of time travel, because this does take place in the near future. Good times. I'm looking forward to issue 998. So that'll do it for this one. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you liked the video, please hit like, consider subscribing, and if you want to help me read more comics so I can do more reviews, consider following the Patreon link and giving a monthly donation. And as always, we hope to see you on the next one. Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we are looking at Action Comics 998. This is Booster Shot Conclusion issue. This is written by Dan Jurgens, Will Conrad on art, Ivan Nunez on color, Rob Lay letters. Conrad and Nunez did the cover, and the editor was Paul Kaminsky. Now the cover is very dynamic. It really gives you kind of a feel what you're going to see right out of the gate. Superman and Booster are strapped to this thing and they're getting attacked by Zod, Lord Zod, his son, Ursa, his wife, and their boy Eradicator. Booster's force field is about to collapse, but thankfully there is some hope because somebody we thought was gone is back and manages to rescue them. Took a little while for him to take over the programming on the Eradicator android, but he's able to save them and they get out of there with a lot of beatings and a lot of work. But thankfully Booster is able to get them to the time ship and get them out of there, and Superman still needs to know what happened, if who Mr. Oz claims he is actually the case. So they go back to Krypton and watch it explode, and they watch as Mr. Oz is taken the way he says, and unfortunately Superman has to watch his entire planet, his entire species get destroyed. And it is a very, very emotional sequence. He understands now what Booster was saying about tampering with time. The first rule of time travel, you can't go around tampering with things because of the infinite potential to cause havoc with the timeline. Well, Superman gets dropped off and Booster finds out from Skeets that something really bad just happened to the lanes, and Booster makes a decision that will get him in a lot of trouble, and he does exactly what he just told Superman they shouldn't be doing, and that is going to be consequences for him, but he's willing to make that sacrifice and face the music, which says a lot about Booster's character. This was actually a really, really good issue, I thought. Unfortunately, at the end there is a preview for Curse of Brimstone, which I absolutely hated, and just seeing that preview really annoyed the crap out of me. But this was a great issue. This whole storyline was a lot of fun. It was really interesting. It really restored my faith in Dan Jurgens, which was shaky after that craptastic Oz Effect storyline. So I definitely would recommend this issue. I would be willing to pay the $3 cover price for it. Not even a problem. You'll probably see it in a cheap bin because I think it really got underestimated as to how good this comic has been. Because Oz Effect was so terrible and had stupid lenticular covers, it really kind of diminished this storyline by proxy. So this was a very good storyline. Very happy I read it, and I would definitely buy it again. So if you get a chance to check it out, I'd recommend it. That's just my opinion, and as always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you like the video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing so you don't miss any reviews. And as always, we hope to see you on the next one. Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we are looking at Action Comics 999. This is written by Dan Jurgens with art by Will Conrad, color by Ivan Nunez, letters by Rob Lay. The cover was by Brett Booth, Norm Rapmund, Andrew Dalhouse. This issue is kind of a strange one because it's got a little bit of action, but it's not really an action issue. It's mostly just about Lois talking to her dad about various things that they disagreed with over the years, and John's trying to keep them from fighting, but it's not really working. There is a lot of dialogue in this, but it's very plot driven. Lois is trying to air out her grievances with her dad, and it's not really working. Superman's up in space getting some rare crystal from an asteroid. It leaves Lois to deal with her dad and his stubbornness. They're both very stubborn people. Well, eventually Superman goes back to the Fortress of Solitude, and he's having second thoughts about entrapping Cyborg Superman in the Phantom Zone. So he builds this cage, sort of like a little studio apartment kind of thing for Cyborg Superman to live in, and it's going to keep him from going insane in the Phantom Zone, and he's hoping to rehab Cyborg Superman. Well, of course, that's probably going to backfire on him later, because some future writer will want to make Cyborg Superman psychotic again, but Superman is hopeful that he can rehab him, and he wants to give him a second chance, effectively, even though he's killed millions of people. Well, then Clark shows up at the house, tries to talk to Sam Lane and become a little friendlier, and it has a really goofy ending. I thought it was a little cheesy of an issue. Overall, I get what they're going for here, but it didn't really work for me. It was an okay issue, but the end felt very rushed and forcefully wrapped up. So the story with Cyborg Superman was actually more interesting for me than the rest of it. The whole thing with Sam and Lois could have been kind of hammered out in a much shorter period. It's worth getting if you want to end cap the Dan Jurgens run, but I think this one is pretty forgettable. And I didn't much care for the art. The artist is, he really goes back and forth. The parts where Superman's in space look really cool. The colorist did a great job on that. There's some really cool digital skylines, and the crystals look really cool. So props to the colorist for that. The artist and the colorist worked really well on Superman, but when it came to Clark Kent, it looks like garbage. The scenes with Sam and Lois were pretty good. The first page with Jonathan, he looks like he's got Down syndrome, so I was a little weirded out by that because his face consistently changes throughout the issue, and I at first didn't recognize that it was the same kid until they would say his name and I had to be reminded. But the scenes in the Fortress of Solitude were great, so everything with Superman was really well done, and Cyborg Superman looked really cool. So Will Conrad did good with a lot of it, but not with others. He really needs to work on faces, especially the mouth area. I think he could be really good if he would get that down, because it's usually the mouth doesn't look like it fits the face, like it looks like a creepy horror movie look, but other times he nails it. Like Sam looks really good through almost the entire issue, but John doesn't. And angles, when he's at an under angle, like you're looking up at someone, he doesn't do the chin well. Everybody looks like they got the turkey gobbler. So I would work on that if I was him, but I'm not an artist. Cyborg Superman looked really cool though, and like I said, the coloring is really and shading really kind of tied this one together for me. So if you're gonna get this issue, don't pay more than like $1.50 for it. It wasn't worth the cover price, and the cover scene doesn't even happen anywhere in the issue ever, and I hate the cover. I think it looks like trash. It looks like Superman's having like a tantrum, or maybe he's got to poop really bad. Actually, the worst art of the whole book is the cover, but otherwise pretty decent issue, just not really much to it. The story with Cyborg Superman possibly being rehabbed was actually the most interesting aspect, and that was worth $1.50 to me. The rest of it was kind of just filler. But that'll do it for me. As always, thanks for listening. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing so you don't miss any future reviews, and we hope to see you on the next one.